The story of the San Francisco Giants is legendary. In my years as the official voice of the Giants, I've had the privilege to meet countless players and personalities whose passion for this team is only matched by their love for the game. Their stories are intertwined within the fabric of this team's history. They are forever Giants. Matt Cain's 13-year MLB career began when he was drafted out of high school by the San Francisco Giants in 2002. The three-time All-Star was central in a pitching staff that helped the Giants win 3 World Championships in 5 years. He reached a pinnacle when he threw the 22nd perfect game in big league history in 2012. With 1,694 strikeouts and over 2,000 innings pitched, Matt Cain retired from the game of baseball in 2017. Having played his entire career with the Orange and Black, he is truly forever Giant. Here we are at the lovely Silver Oak, Alexander Valley, and joining me for this edition of Forever Giants, our beloved, the horse is here with me. Matt Cain, thank you so much for doing our show.
No, I'm excited about it.
It's great to have you here. Now, the horse, you've got several nicknames, but I used to call you the horse in starting lineups, so I hope you didn't mind that.
Oh, no, that was no problem at all.
Well, let's talk about your senior year in high school, because that was pretty extraordinary. You struck out 83 batters in 62 innings, a 1.03 ERA. That's kind of bananas.
I thought it was until the guy the year after me came and like just destroyed
that out?
Oh yeah, he like doubled that on strikeouts and had like a less than a 1 ERA. It was a joke. So yeah, you know that's baseball. You always think you're really good, then somebody else comes along and just
This game will break your heart, right?
Oh yeah.
From time to time.
Yeah. But that was a really, really fun senior year. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was fun going through that whole process of seeing a bunch of the scouts, kind of getting introduced, because at first I had no idea about all of it, and then all of a sudden it was kind of all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Our first tournament, spring break, was down in Alabama, and the scouts kind of came, and then all of a sudden it came more, and it was starting to get the interviews with all of them. It was definitely changing.
Was that pressure for you, or how did you deal with all of that?
It was more exciting. I mean, I think there was the pressure, but I guess I looked at it as exciting, and I wanted to run with it. I don't know why, but I always wanted to be, a professional athlete, and I was starting to actually see that, like, hey, I could go further in this. I had committed to University of Memphis the fall of my senior year, and then all of a sudden, when spring comes around and you get the baseball season, you get the scouts coming in, and you start to see, like, hey, I might be able to actually go into pro baseball and jumpstart this thing even quicker than I had thought about. So it was more exciting, I think, than overwhelming.
Who really was significant in helping you have that successful senior year in high school?
My dad, we would always play catch until I was probably about 12-ish or so, and then he's like, you know what, this is getting a little uncomfortable. I think he was starting to not see the ball as well, and I was starting to throw a little bit harder.
Yes.
So I don't know whether it was him and my granddad had talked, my mom's dad. So my granddad had found just kind of like a one ad from a guy named Mauro Gazzo. He had played with the Mets and had some time in the big leagues, and he was starting to give pitching lessons on the side. Just old school, back in the paper.
Yes.
Just threw that out there, and my granddad found it, and we went over there, called him up, went over there, and I was 11 years old, and I was one of the first guys that, and we just in the backyard, like, all right, hey, let's kind of start working on some stuff, and from then, it just clicked between he and I was there, throughout my whole entire career, always staying in contact with him. And, he's the foundation of like how I actually started to learn how to pitch.
Gotcha.
And understand what I was doing, not just go out there and heave it and, hope I throw it over the plate or, so he started to actually just show me the really good fundamentals and be the big brother that I needed in the baseball world. Yeah,
but you did the work too. You've always seemed to us to be just super disciplined and like a student of the game, and the horse, a hard worker. It seems like that's your demeanor.
Yeah, I was. I was to a point at one point. I think I was good with going to maybe a pitching lesson and doing my work, but I didn't necessarily do some of the stuff that I should have done kind of as my career started to evolve. Bochy ended up calling me out in 2008 in the middle of Kansas City outfield. And we had a friendly discussion, if we'll call it that.
Yeah.
You know, and it was him that was like, hey, like, I get it, man, you're doing really good. But if you want to kind of take it to another level, that I think that you need to, I think you've got to do more. And I was not happy about this, you know, and, you know, I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, but I needed him to call me out. And from that day forward, there was not a day that I missed my running or my workouts. And he pushed me to find out the next level of my career. And I think it started to show, actually. You know, the next year I ended up that was the first year I was an all-star, and it was, could see the work that I was putting in was actually paying off.
That's
you know,
right,
it wasn't just, hey, we'll get to here.
Yeah.
Let's see how much farther we can go with this and be completely satisfied.
You got drafted by the Giants in 2002. You got called up August of 2005 to join the rotation, right?
Yeah.
What are you feeling inside? What's going on?
A lot of everything, because in 2005 I was 20 years old in AAA and getting used to trying to be around some of the older guys, because at that point there was actually a big age gap. You know, whether it was I was 20 and some guys were in their early 30s.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a learning experience and a learning curve, how to keep my mouth shut and also how to take care of myself and stand up for myself. So I was just enjoying getting through AAA and being satisfied with that once I had finally calmed down about the All-Star break, and then started to roll as the second half, and then was kind of preparing for the off season, because the AAA season was kind of winding down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I got a call from a 415 number, and it was Bobby Evans. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, well, just kind of keep it, you know, between us, but we're going to call you up. You know, and I'm just probably speechless. I don't even exactly know, but it was, you know, the first person I called were my parents, then Franzen, because he was supposed to pick me up somewhere. So Kevin Franzen, I call him, I'm like, hey man, I can't. You don't have to come get me, I got to come back. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, calling me up. I'm like, oh crap, now I've already not kept it in, you know, but it is what it is.
So you make your MLB debut August 29th. Like we said, you got to, you know, settle in for a bit. What are your memories of that first start?
The memories, I mean, the one that always stands out is the long at bat with Helton, but in the fifth inning. But you kind of think back on it, there was just going out there for the first inning, trying not to throw it off the backstop, you know, just
a little hyped up for you.
Well, that's kind of I have a tendency of doing that anyway, and that's going to be even more dramatic, you know, when you go out there in the bigger scene. But
and Helton's a beast. He was a beast too, wasn't he, back then?
Yeah. I mean, well, that whole lineup was. They had Helton.
Just ridiculous.
They had Helton, Holiday, Atkins. I mean, everybody hit 350 with 30.
Right.
It seemed like, you know, but that was where I was young enough and ignorant enough of not even paying attention to what they had done during the season. So I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going out and facing the Rockies. I know some of the guys, but like I didn't really know what they'd been doing all year.
So your youth kind of was your advantage in that situation.
Right, because I never really looked back at the scoreboard and was like, oh, that guy's hitting 330. Like, oh gosh, like, I shouldn't throw this right here. But so that I was young enough for sure that it helped me out. But that's where, you know, I leaned on Matheny. All of the catchers that we had every year really did a tremendous job for me, the way I pitched, because I leaned on those guys a lot. With him, Benji and Buster, but Todd Green, like Eli Whiteside, like we had so many guys that came in and did a good job of instilling confidence in you of like, hey, I really do believe that you can throw these pitches in these counts when maybe you're uncomfortable doing it. And those guys could just step you up further and further in your games, and I think you see that with Buster, what he's done for so many years with pitchers.
Yeah. Talk to me about Dave Righetti.
God, we had fun all the time.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, Rags and I, we had that personality just kind of meshed from kind of day one.
Really?
Yeah, really it did, and it was more of me just being green and throwing stuff out there. Like one of my first spring trainings, I was like, hey, Rags, like a week or so in, I'm like, hey, my mom's flying into town. She wants to know when I'm pitching. And he's like, what do you, I'll let you know when you're pitching. You know, like, it's not how it works. Like, this is your first camp. Take it easy. And honestly, you're probably not going to pitch this. But he didn't say that, but he kind of led me on. He's like, hey, I'll let you know. Maybe it works out. You know, but it was like, he did a good job of keeping that one under wraps to not get me worn out by all the older guys. So that was good by him. But it was like from day one, we had just a good way of communicating to each other, whether it was good or bad. We had the respect for each other, and that's something that I appreciated from Rags. Is, hey, you got to let me know. You know, you got to let me know when things are going good. Don't just put the icing on the cake all the time. Like you got to let me know.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that from him and Guardy. Those guys did a good job of that.
That first postseason, that first World Series championship, 2010, you have made it to the World Series. What's going through your mind? And how did you handle all of that? I mean, that was an intense, grueling, series of playoff games.
Yeah, and I mean, just from the end of the season, it was, who knows what's going to happen. Comes down to the very last game of the season, and Sanchez goes out and throws a gem and gets a triple to get it all going for us.
It's amazing.
So, yeah, but that was kind of that was the way that we played baseball. We did that all year, so it was standard for us to go out and play super close games. And it was kind of like hitting back on what I went through with high school. Is I just saw it as, somehow I saw it as exciting and as enjoyment and a little bit of like an extra credit of going out there. And I enjoyed the first one for sure. I definitely enjoyed the moment of being out there and being a part of it.
So you were present.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just really, and I think it was being new to it. I didn't understand really what the magnitude was going on to it. So then a little bit in 2012, I had thought about, oh, well, hey, I need to do this. And it doesn't work that way. You got to find a way to be in those moments and try to take advantage of them.
I call it your masterpiece. There was that little perfect game that you threw. Yeah, that little game. Remember that one?
Yeah. But a lot of it I don't remember. I probably remember some of the other games, the playoff games, more than I do that one, just because it was. I
was going to ask you. I mean, was it like out of body? Were you just locked in? I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it was locked in. It was, man, Buster. It was like Buster had like. I don't know what he was doing, but it seemed like it was always working.
It was working.
And I was going to go with it, and there wasn't anything I was ever going to shake on him. But I hardly shook anyway, but that game I never shook once. And man, he had all the pressure on him somehow. But it was one of those days where I felt like I was just in a good groove, and somehow I stayed in it. Sometimes you'll go in and out of those grooves, whether it's sitting down in the or sitting down in the dugout between innings or whatever. But somehow I just stayed in that same groove from the very beginning. Didn't feel anything different, leading up to the game, as in like in the bullpen or warming up or anything, but it was, for some reason, that game just started out and it just kept building and building and building. And, as the sixth inning rolled around and Snyder, I thought, hit a home run.
Oh my God.
And Melky catches it at the wall.
Yeah.
That's when it started to intensify. And then, the Blanco catch in the seventh.
Oh my God.
It's just.
That's highlight reel forever.
It still doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It never gets old seeing that. Did you buy him a car or something?
We did. I ended up doing watches with the guys.
Nice.
I was really into the watches, and so.
We were also keeping our eye on your beloved wife.
Oh, goodness.
How did she do that night? And they kept putting the camera on her, bless her heart.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
man.
I know. Somehow she did. I don't know. Definitely a strong woman.
Yeah, that night, I don't know who we felt more for, her or
right?
you. We were watching you both so intently.
It's probably more for her, yeah.
Well, since I brought her up, I mean, being a baseball wife is no joke.
No.
Right? And can you just talk about how she's been supportive of you and you guys' relationship on your journey, and starting in the minor leagues and then in getting to the big show, as it were.
Yeah, and we met in 2007. So I had just a little bit of time, but I was still getting used to everything. So it was two things kind of going, my career and our relationship kind of growing together. We had our difficult times, but it was something that we grew through, and we would try to find, ways to find positives out of everything. And it's a lot of maybe a single parent or a single wife at times where you've got to be able to do a lot of things. And it was hard for both of us to learn how to, whether it's take care of, houses or dogs or whatever. It's a learning curve, and I appreciate how she was super stable for me throughout my career.
Got a good one there.
For sure.
You got a good one there. And another World Series in 2012.
Yeah.
So tell me about that experience as compared to the first one.
Yeah,
I love saying the first, the second, and the third. Who gets to say that? The Yankees,
yeah.
but we don't need to.
That one was nerve-wracking because I had something to compare it to, I guess. And then going out there and, having the game one against the Cincinnati Reds at home, it was tough. Talking about nerves and feeling that. I felt that in both of the, not as much as in the first start against St. Louis, but the first start against Cincinnati was definitely nerve-wracking. And I mean, it's not like it got any better going to Game 5 in Cincinnati, but it was. I'm glad it worked that way instead of the other way around. I was able to try to rethink and reevaluate. Hey, how do I need to prepare for this game, mentally and physically? So it was. I tried to use a lot of things in my career as actually learning blocks, not as something that's going to beat me up. Yeah. So it was. Tried to see how somehow it was positive, and that was my mom always crushing me about it.
Yeah.
She'd give me my 10 minutes and let me sulk about it, but then I was like, all right, now what can we pick away from bad days and make good out of them?
I love that.
So that was huge on her part.
I love that. We talked a little bit about Bruce Bochy earlier, but having seen him retire, and that was hard for all of us. And I mean, how did it affect you? And just tell me more about your relationship with him.
We had a good relationship, but it wasn't. He was always probably gravitated a little bit more towards the position players and the catchers, but that was just the relationship that we had because he knew that Rags and Gardy and any of the pitching coach, they were always going to take care of us.
Right.
So that was. But he knew, I feel like that's where Boch did a good job of knowing when to step in and talk to guys. Like he did the same with me in 2008. He did that at certain moments. He would try to find, like, hey, you know what? I need to go talk to this guy, pull him apart in good settings, and that's what Bochy always did a good job of, is being professional. He was magnificent at what he did, in the playoffs, and we all owe him the credit for putting us in really, really successful spots in purposeful moments.
And he's just a great human being on top of it. That's an added bonus,
right? Yeah, no, I mean, he's genuinely, deep down, he's always that way. It's not always fun to hear what he might have to say as a player. But he's got somewhere down there, it has a reason.
Yeah. Well, you're such a fan favorite and you're so beloved, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you played your whole career in the orange and black, and I know that was very important to you. So talk to me about the decision to retire.
It was hard. I think I knew, I had a good feeling at the beginning of 2017 that was probably going to be my last year. Physically and mentally, I'd felt like I was kind of getting there. I think it was more of being satisfied with my entire career, and it took me a while to I think really accept the entire journey, going around complete full circle, all the good years that I had, and even the rough years that I had, and it just took me a while to realize that, and I started to realize that I think at the beginning of the year, and it gave me the freedom, I think, to go out and pitch and enjoy that last full season. But then as the season started to wind down, it was like I could start to see myself not wanting to go and put another uniform on. I'd been given so much loyalty from the Giants, from the fans, from the team, from everyone, that it kind of just all seemed like that perfect storm of knowing, like, hey, you know what, I finally want to say it. It was just being able to say it,
say it out loud.
That was where it was probably the worst, was on Chelsea, because I didn't mention anything really to her. We had talked about it, but I never had said until the last week of the season, like, hey, this is it, like I'm done.
And you were at peace with it at that point.
I'd finally come to peace being able to say it out loud. Like I had said it to myself or whatever, but I was actually able to say it out loud to her and kind of go through that moment. Sorry, getting a little bit.
I know you're getting.
But it was like it was
I feel
a big
like Oprah
moment.
now. He's getting all choked up.
It meant a lot to me for the Giants to stick with me and to really feel the love from everyone.
Yeah.
And that's special.
Just quickly get me updated on what you're doing now, life after baseball. It's still weird for me to say that you're retired. And I can see it's still kind of raw and emotional for you.
Sometimes, yeah, it is.
It's like it's probably taken it a while to maybe sink in over these past couple years, right?
Yeah.
But so what are you doing now?
The first full year I really played a ton of golf. And
what a shock, right?
Yeah, right. But then I've kind of gotten, and then with the girls kind of getting into their activities, whether it's the horses or ballet or just school, learning how to try to pack lunches the correct way. I constantly get critiqued on that one.
Wait, there's a system for that?
I still have not figured out which one wants grape jelly, which one wants strawberry, and it's
adorable.
Oh yeah, it is, but it's kind of funny too. I'm like, why didn't you eat your lunch? Well, you gave me the wrong sandwich. All right. So it's funny that it's taken me this long. You would think they'd figure it out, but.
Well, you're kind of busy doing other stuff.
But yeah, it's been fun. It was definitely a transition, but it was a transition that I was excited for and I was ready for. And now, as the time has kind of settled, I've started to actually want to kind of get back a little bit with the organization, trying to just talk with some of the guys here and there.
Really?
So it's just a natural part. Whether it's just a small communication with some guys, try to help them a little bit of a learning curve or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's fun because the game has given so much to me in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Not just on the field. So to try to be able to respect that and to honor it and be able to pass that along is something that, we need to do.
Well, good.
Yeah.
You seem really happy and at peace and settled in, and it'd be awesome to have you come and visit us from time to time at the old yard.
Yep, that's always a plan.
That would be really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation.
No, enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with it.
Thank you. Well, This is what we do at the end of every Forever Giants episode, is I thank the Forever Giant, in this case, our beloved Matt Cain. Thank you, and cheers.
Cheers.